So up first on the show, the latest vaccine news, and Johnson & Johnson has announced that it has temporarily halted its COVID vaccine trial because one of its participants had become sick. We have temporarily paused further dosing in all our COVID vaccine candidate clinical trials, including the phase 3 trial, due to an unexplained illness in a study participant, the company said in a statement, though they haven't revealed what kind of unexplained illness took place because of the privacy concerns. They don't even know whether that patient was indeed given the vaccine or a placebo. Now, the pause means the online enrollment system has been closed for the 60,000 patient clinical trial, while the independent patient safety committee is convened. Johnson & Johnson says that serious adverse events are an expected part of a clinical trial, especially large studies. Company guidelines allowed them to pause a study to determine if it was related to the drug in question and whether to resume the study. Johnson & Johnson phase 3 trial had started recruiting participants in late September across more than 200 sites in the US and around the world. So let's talk a bit about vaccine development. Now, vaccines typically require years of research and testing before reaching the clinic. But scientists are racing to produce a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine by next year. Researchers are testing 44 vaccines in clinical trials on humans. At least 92 are in preclinical trials, which are under investigation on animals. And 11 vaccines worldwide are in the phase 3. Now, this is the most extensive trial, which is tested on thousands and thousands of people and to see if there are any adverse effects. Now, of these, 4 from China and 1 from Russia have been approved for early use and limited use in those countries. Only in China and Russia, vaccines have been approved for limited use. China is using it on their army already. But experts have said that without having done the phase 3 trials, they have rushed the process and it has serious risks. Remember, Russia had even announced its vaccine, Sputnik, saying that Sputnik V, that it was already released and ready to be used among the public. So 11 vaccines currently in that phase 3 trial, including Johnson & Johnson, which has now been paused. In India, if we talk about the vaccine development, there are 2 vaccines in development which are in the human testing stages, though they haven't reached that phase 3, that's Zydus Cadila and Bharat Biotech. Now, talking about vaccines today, Union Health Minister Dr. Vardhan said that they are expecting a vaccine in India early next year, and there can be more than one source for that vaccine.
We are expecting that early next year we should have vaccine in the country from maybe more than one source, and our expert groups are already formulating and devising strategies to plan out how do we roll out the distribution of the vaccines in the country. Who do we give the vaccine first? And then, of course, we are strengthening the cold chain facilities and all those things.
Well, to talk more about vaccines and this latest development that's taken place of Johnson & Johnson pausing their vaccine, we're joined by Professor and Dr. Anita Ramesh Chandra, a specialist in clinical trials and oncologist, Apollo Specialty Hospitals in Chennai. Thank you so much for joining us again, Doctor. And first and foremost, this news about Johnson & Johnson, what do we make of it? This is like in the past when AstraZeneca also paused their trials when one of the volunteers fell sick.
Yes, hi Gargi, thanks for having me here today to have you to talk about this vaccine. See, again, this Johnson & Johnson study, it was on 60,000 volunteers in America and southern parts of the United States were recruited. But yesterday, one of the participants became very sick. So after that, the trial has been stopped. Online recruitment has stopped. This is a part of any clinical trial. Whenever you have any of the participants having any serious adverse reaction, the trial should halt. And now we need to have a different third party looking into what was the cause of the side effect, whether the vaccine caused the side effect or whether the side effects was caused by any other thing. So that's not a good news. But remember, in any clinical trial, serious adverse reaction, stoppage of the trial is a part and parcel of the study itself. And hello?
Yes, go ahead, doctor.
Yeah, yes. And also just a quick word about AstraZeneca. The AstraZeneca study is also a British company which started the study in collaboration with US. The AstraZeneca study, after recruiting, there was one British person who fell sick and the study was stopped. But what happened after that? The medical health and research in UK and the drug controlling system again gave authority to restart the study. So the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine study is ongoing in UK. It is also ongoing in collaboration with with Serum Institute in India.
Yes.
But still now US has not opened this study in the AstraZeneca study in US. So that's the story. Some drugs, some of the trials will halt, some will continue, but then we need to be with them because safety of the patient is primary at this point of time. We should have a vaccine which is robust, gives immunity, prevents us from corona, and it also should be safe.
Right, doctor, when we talk about one or two of the volunteers falling sick, a lot of doctors also talk about just weigh, the pros and the cons. One person out of so many thousands falling sick to actually get a vaccine for a disease that is also killing so many people every single day and infecting so many people. So they kind of talk about balancing that as well.
Yeah, you are right. Balancing is there, but this patient, one person must be sick. But once the vaccine is out, when hundreds fall sick, we'll be in trouble. So we should have the drug should be safe. We should not give something which will kill the patient. So yes, I understand what you say. The virus is killing, but we have to wait for. See, the virus is something. It's environmental. We have not created. But if you create a drug and a vaccine which kills people, it is homicidal.
All right. Yes, absolutely. Very important point there in that whole balancing act. But let's also now come to what Dr. Vardhan just said today about how he's optimistic about getting a vaccine by early next year. So that's good news. And also the fact that he says we may have a choice of more than one vaccine. If you can explain that for our viewers.
Yes, as on India, see, 3 studies are going on. What is the Covaxin, which is by the Bharat Biotech. It is also in the phase 3 study. The second is by the Serum Institute, and it is the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, which they manufactured in Pune, and it is being going on. The third vaccine is the Zydus vaccine, but the Zydus vaccine is in phase 1 and 2, whereas the Covaxin from the Bharat Biotech and the Serum Institute AstraZeneca vaccine is in stage 3. And so we are always hopeful. In India, as on today, we need 400 to 500 million doses to serve the 1.3 billion population. And India has done very well in the past as far as vaccine is concerned with the other diseases. And we are hopeful that all the 3 Indian-based trials will reach the target.
Right. And Dr. Vardhan today also spoke about how they're formulating a plan for distribution of the vaccine, because that's the other big challenge, huge challenge. Even if we get the vaccine by early next year, and we're one of the world's top producers of vaccine, actually getting it to all the citizens and those who first need it is also going to be a big challenge. He spoke about how they're strengthening the cold chain facilities and all those other things.
Yes, Gargi. See, just producing the vaccine is not. See, first important point, you have to produce enough to meet the 1.3 billion population, and it's not a single dose. Usually it is 2 to 3 doses, so triple the amount has to be produced. Next, how to distribute from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and we are a big diverse country, cold chain maintenance is very important. Next, whom to give the vaccine. We need to identify the high-risk individual, particularly elderly with diabetes, hypertension, cancer, renal, on steroids, and healthcare workers has to be. We also need to see what is the immune response. How do we check? And also who are the people to be trained, where are the vaccine centers, all these things has to be monitored. And I'm sure in India, we have done well, I told you earlier, as far as vaccine is concerned, and the government is also lining up to do it, and I'm sure we'll all do well.
All right, well, thank you always, Dr. Chandra, for joining us and, talking to us about all these matters. Thanks so much for being with us.